Hello and good evening from SETA Berlin. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our web panel entitled Turkish-German Economic Relations During the COVID-19 Pandemic and the Future Afterwards. Today, we have a group of very distinguished experts from Germany and Turkey to discuss our just mentioned topic. By this, I want to welcome Ms. Gonca Yılmaz Batur, Deputy Minister of Trade of the Republic of Turkey, for joining our event with a welcome speech. It is an honor to have you here. Thank you to being here. I also welcome our panelists and speakers like Michael Schumann, Ahmet İhsan Erdem, Professor Erdar Yalçın, and Klaus Meyer. Welcome all of you. Before starting our web panel discussion, I will briefly turn to our coordinator of SETA Berlin, Mr. Zafer Meşe, for his introductory statement. Following this, Deputy Minister of Trade, Ms. Gonca Yılmaz Batur, will hold a welcome speech. My name is Erkut Ayvaz, and I'm a researcher at SETA Berlin. Mr. Meşe, now the floor is yours.
Thank you, Erkut. Dear Deputy Minister of Trade, Republic of Turkey, Gonca Yılmaz Batur, dear distinguished experts representing various fields of economy and trade, SETA Berlin is pleased to host a distinguished web panel with the title Turkish-German Economic Relations During the COVID-19 Pandemic, and where we will really focus on is the future afterwards. But allow me to inform you briefly about our work at SETA Berlin. Well, SETA Foundation for Political, Economic, and Social Research is a non-profit research institute dedicated to innovative studies on national, regional, and international issues. The objective of SETA is to produce up-to-date and accurate knowledge and analysis in the fields of politics, economy, as we do now as well, and society, and inform policymakers and also the public on changing political, economic, social, cultural conditions. What differs SETA from other similar institutions is that SETA evaluates national and international issues in a historical and, very important from our perspective, and in cultural context. Now, to touch on the topic of our event, the Turkish-German economic and trade relations represent an important component of both countries' bilateral relations. During the challenging times of the COVID-19 pandemic, though, multiple questions arose how to face effectively the repercussions of the contemporary crisis. With our panel, the idea is to look at the bilateral economic relations of two countries with a successful strategy to cope with the COVID-19 pandemic. After a suffering period of roughly 7-8 months of almost stagnation in the bilateral economic relations, we have to look forward and to discuss opportunities and potentials of further deepening and increasing the economic ties of both countries. Well, I wish a constructive and inspiring discussion. Dear Deputy Minister of Trade, Republic of Turkey, Gonca Yılmaz Batur, I have the great pleasure to hand to you for your welcome speech. The floor is yours, dear Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ayvaz, Mr. Meşe, for the coordination of this meeting. First of all, I would like to thank you for this organization and welcome all SETA members and, of course, our German colleagues. I see this meeting as a very important opportunity, as you have already mentioned, to review our current commercial and economic relations, as well as to explore future cooperation opportunities. As you all know, we are going through very unprecedented times due to the pandemic, and this surely has a serious impact on business and trade. Measures, as you all know, taken around the world to combat the pandemic inevitably affected the international economy. And now with the normalization, we have to focus on the future the recovery, and even further development of our economies and businesses. We believe that we can overcome this time of crisis only with cooperation and solidarity. Undoubtedly, the pandemic significantly affected not only the merchandise trade, but also especially service sectors such as tourism, transportation, and many others. Our flights with Germany, which could not be operated due to the pandemic, resumed just a while ago, even with certain restrictions for some provinces. In your presence, I would like to thank my colleague, my counterpart, Herr Thomas Barreis, Parliamentary State Secretary of Ministry of Economic Affairs and Energy, and of course other related German governmental authorities for their support in this matter. We believe that our citizens should be able to travel comfortably between our countries, and within this framework, we take effective measures, of course, to prevent the spread of the pandemic. I believe with the current international environment, Turkey-German cooperation has become more vital than ever, and the exchange of views between public and private sectors also is really very crucial, especially these times. In this context, this meeting and panel discussions that you will realize today are, I believe, of utmost importance. However, I'm very sorry to say that since I have another meeting scheduled at the same time, I will have to leave after my speech, but you can be sure that we will follow very closely with your works in this regard, and I will personally get the results of your discussions that you will hold today from SETA, and afterwards, of course, trace them carefully. Esteemed guests, bilateral trade and economic relations between our countries spread over a wide area and carry a very important potential. In this respect, our priority should be the further development of these relations and our bilateral cooperation in every area. As a Turkish side, we are ready to do whatever our part is for this purpose. At this point, I would like to share some figures with you on our trade, investments, and other economic relations very briefly, so that we can be at the same point to understand where we stand right now and where we have to move forward. Germany is the most important trade partner for our country in Europe. In fact, Germany gets the first ranking in our foreign trade by far for long years, and our bilateral trade volume was recorded as $35.8 billion as of the end of 2019. In the first 7 months of 2020, although the first 2 months were going very promisingly, and although we recorded an increase in the first 2 to 3 months, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, the bilateral trade volume, which was $20.7 billion in the same period of 2019, was realized as $19.5 billion, with a slight decrease. And again, in the first 7 months of 2020, our exports to Germany decreased by 12.3% compared to the same period of 2019, from $9.7 billion to $8.5 billion. And so, as seen from the figures, there is a slight contraction in our trade volume, but since in the same period, our imports from Germany increased by 0.2% compared to the same period of 2019, and reached to $10.9 billion. The figures, the bilateral trade volume is still the most important priority for us. However, we are very positive that after the pandemic, we will begin to experience a new rise in the bilateral trade relations, and these numbers will increase significantly. And in the coming years, our goal should be to increase the bilateral trade volume between our countries, first to $40 billion, then to $50 billion. We believe that we have this potential, and considering the capabilities, the innovative economic capacity of our countries, this is really an achievable target. Therefore, we need to diversify our trade structure on product basis. Through this aim, we started a joint study with the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Energy of Germany. In that framework, we conveyed the German side the results of our study concerning the products having the highest potential in our exports to Germany, with a letter from our minister, Her Excellency Pekcan, that's addressed to His Excellency Altmaier in July 2020. And recently, just today, we received the response from our German colleagues. For the time being, our German colleagues conducted the study, and we will be now doing a matching study and identify joint products that have prior potential in our bilateral trade. Afterwards, we will focus on these products, and we will be very strong and to the point in developing the trade, particularly after the pandemic. We also take into consideration that after the pandemic, a new supply chain model will be established in the world, and being at the same neighborhood and region, in other words, because of the geographical proximity, we believe that these advantages will carry vital significance in this new world system. Hence, Turkey and Germany having very close cultural and historical ties, and being the leading economic and political powers of their regions, we will surely be among the leading suppliers and trading partners for each other, even the most important of them all after the pandemic. Distinguished participants, according to recent data, in contrast to many countries in the process of pandemic, Turkey's economy showed 9.9 contraction below expectations. Additionally, leading industry data points to a strong recovery in the future. Let me give you some figures. Fitch Ratings, for example, in its Global Economic Outlook report, while revised global growth forecast for this year from minus 4.6% to minus 4.4%, and revised Turkey's economic growth forecast for 2020 from minus 3.9% to minus 3.2%. The report also cited that in the 2021 and 2022 forecasts for Turkish economy will be a growth of 5% and 4.6% respectively. According to OECD's latest interim assessment report, which is dated September 16, 2020, among all other OECD countries, Turkey will be the least affected country after China and South Korea from the economic downturn in 2020. As for investments, figures show that foreign investments are one of the most important areas of cooperation among our countries, as it was always. Since 2002, Turkey's foreign direct investment in Germany was recorded as $2.91 billion as of June 2020. On the other hand, from Germany to Turkey, the amount of direct investment was recorded approximately $10.1 billion since 2002. Our goal in the coming years, of course, should be to increase these numbers even more. And I would like you to know that we always support both countries' private sectors in bilateral economic and commercial relations. The government of the Republic of Turkey is always ready to fulfill its part in this regard and provide any assistance and support required. I'm happy also to share with you that approximately 70 to 75% of the foreign investments entered into Turkey has European origin. These figures are very concrete indicators, I believe, because they show how attractive the Turkish economy is for global and European investors. We are also improving the investment environment in our country every year. Even we currently have one of the most liberal and attractive investment environments in the world. Besides, we continue our works with an accelerating trend towards the further enhancement of the competitiveness of our economy. In this framework, we are also making an intense effort to make our country more attractive to investors, both with financial support offered to investors, legislative arrangements, and efforts to improve the investment environment and bilateral investment agreements as well. In addition to our incentive system, which has been in effect since June 2012, we also designed a new project-based system with a view to attract more foreign investments, which are crucial for our country and lead to serve the technological transformation of Turkey. With this support system, investments with the characteristics of reducing foreign dependency, providing technological transformation, innovation, R&D intensivity, and having high value added value are supported on project basis. Within that set system, we are ready to negotiate every detail of any major investment, particularly in key sectors that we name as strategic. That's why we sometimes call our investment system in Turkey as a tailor-made system. And as a result of the measures taken for improving the business and investment environment, the foreign direct investment stock in Turkey reached up to $217.4 billion between 2003 to 2019. With these characteristics and properties, Turkey absolutely constitutes one of the leading hubs for foreign investments, and Turkish-German partnership becomes more and more important in time, also investment-wise. As always, we are ready to cooperate more with Germany by enhancing the logistics conditions and creating new projects in the near future. These can, of course, include cooperation or establishment of joint ventures, not only in our countries, but also in third countries as well. I would also like to refer to the progress of Turkey in recent years, taking into consideration the rankings in some prestigious international indices. For example, according to Doing Business report, while ranking the 16th in 2018, Turkey has currently ranked as the 33rd in 2020 by raising 27 through the ranks among the 190 countries. According to the Index of Economic Freedom in the same period, Turkey also has moved 8 steps up to the 71st rank among 180 countries. So I repeat our invitation to German companies to invest in our country, which offers significant potential and opportunities. And also, we encourage and push Turkish investors to invest more in Germany. Another important area is the contracting and consultancy services. This field really carries high potential, while Turkish contracting sector has a worldwide reputation, and our contractors have undertaken more than 10,000 projects in 127 countries all around the world, amounting more than $405 billion. Our contractors undertook only 137 projects amounting to $1.48 billion in Germany until today. And nevertheless, we believe that one of the main collaboration opportunities between our countries in this field lies in cooperation in third countries, such as Middle East, Central Asia, and Caucasian, Balkans, and African countries. Dear participants, I also would like to touch upon the upgrading of the Turkey-EU Customs Union. We attach great importance to our relations with the EU and our Customs Union relationship. In my recent contacts with the EU private sector, I have seen an increasing demand and an urgent need for strengthening and deepening Turkey-EU trade and economic relations. Despite all its benefits, in today's economic conditions, the customs union unfortunately remains insufficient in meeting both parties' expectations. So to this end, I would like to ask Germany's support for the launching of negotiations between Turkey and the EU on the update of the customs union this year, especially considering the role Germany will take in the EU in this period, as being the chairman of the EU until the end of this year. I would like to underline that German Turkish Chamber of Commerce and Industry and Chambers of Commerce and Industry of Turkey, in coordination with related chambers of the EU countries, conduct a very detailed study towards supporting the upgrading of customs union, and they will make the promotion and launch of that study in November this year in Brussels, and they will hold similar events in Istanbul and Berlin as well. So I also invite the Turkish and German business people to give support to this unique initiative. At this point, I would like to dwell on the most important trade and economic cooperation platform between our countries, namely the Joint Economic and Trade Committee, JETCOS. As Turkey, we find these platforms very important and very useful. In this direction, we continue to hold JETCO meetings with important countries of Europe despite the pandemic. For instance, we held JETCO meeting with Latvia on the 9th of July, with Spain with 23rd of July, with Italy on 29th of July. It was a period JETCO actually, and with Netherlands on September 28th. In addition, we will hold JETCO meetings with Denmark on 27th of October and Belgium on 27th of November. We would like to continue these meeting series with Germany as well by the end of 2020 with the participation of our private sectors, of course. As you may know, the first session of the JETCO was held in 2018, October 25th, in Ankara, and we signed a protocol. In that meeting, we established 5 important working groups that are headed by private sectors of both countries under the JETCO mechanism. These working groups are namely trade, the third countries cooperation and infrastructure, transportation and logistics, industrial cooperation, and tourism. These working groups continue their works, studies, and activities fruitfully, and in this sense, we would like to invite you to get benefit from these working groups, both through supporting and cooperating with them or communicating them in case of a need in your business. In this regard, as Ministry of Trade, we are always ready to share more information about these working groups with you after this meeting as well. For the studies for monitoring of the trade working groups, all working groups, I am responsible on the Turkish side, while my colleague, Herr Barais, Thomas Barais, is responsible on the German side. Dear participants, I would like to state once again that we are ready to cooperate with Germany in every field and to share our experiences. It's my sincere hope that we, as deep-rooted partners, will continue to enhance our close and fruitful cooperation thanks to the new initiatives during the year 2020 and in the coming years as well. Post-pandemic era presents us a period that we should work very hard with a new approach and understanding in almost all fields. With these sentiments, I would like to thank once again to SETA for the realization of this organization, and I present my respects to all participants once again. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator.
Dear Deputy Minister of Trade, Ms. Gonca Yılmaz-Batur, thank you for your insightful welcome speech, which actually focused also on Turkey's bilateral relations with Germany in the fields of economic and trade. And actually, it was an honor for us to have you with us. Thank you. Now, I want to start with our web panel, and I will briefly introduce the topic and subsequently our first panelist. But before that, Turkish-German economic and commercial relations represent an important component of both countries' economic performances during the challenging times of the contemporary COVID-19 pandemic. However, and unfortunately, multiple questions arose how to effectively face the impacts of the contemporary crisis. In the light of the current developments, both long-lasting allies and partners, that is to say Turkey and Germany, already initiated several measures and responses in order to limit the potential economic decline in Germany as well as in Turkey. Besides, on the EU level, German policymakers continuously discussed by aiming to limit the effects that particularly severely hurt small business, restaurants, tourism operators, and other imported branches. Similarly, Turkey's government introduces and already introduced additional economic and trade-related steps to further increase already initiated steps of economic support. With the main motivation of coming together today in order to find or at least address concepts of reviving bilateral relations in the field of economic and commercial areas. During these contemporary challenging times, the SETA Foundation's Berlin branch is pleased to host a distinguished web panel, as already our coordinator, Mr. Zafer Meshe, stated. Our panel is joined by several experts to discuss the Turkish-German economic and commercial relations during the current pandemic and the future afterwards, which is also an important factor. By this, we'll in particular focus on questions with regard to a real chance for investment and strengthening cooperations in the field of trade and economic relations of both countries. In the first round of our web panel, each of our panelists will have a maximum of circa 10 minutes for a statement following my question. Then in the second round, panelists will also have another 5 minutes for additional comments. And finally, in the third round, our speakers are invited to answer potential questions from the audience. Before turning to our distinguished speakers and introducing our first speaker, I would like to remind you how to participate regarding our questions and answers round, which is also planned for the end of our panel. My announcement is therefore directed to our audience and viewers who are able to watch our panel on our social media accounts, such as on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, as well as on Instagram. Furthermore, you can address your questions by mentioning to whom it is specifically directed via the comment section on our social media accounts. Of course, our guests will try to answer as many of them as we can. Well, now I want to give the floor to our first speaker, Michael Schumann. Michael Schumann is the board chairman of the Federal Association for Economic Development and Foreign Trade, BWA. Mr. Schumann has been a member of the BWA board of directors since 2013, and he took over the chairmanship of BWA in April of 2018. Mr. Schumann worked in the fields of political consulting, public affairs, and public relations for more than 15 years, and he held leading positions in various agencies, business, and media associations. Among other things, he was also an advisor to former German Prime Minister and Federal Minister, Dr. Lothar de Maizière. Yes, my question. Mr. Schumann, many thanks for joining us. I would like to ask you, first of all, can you tell us the BWA, that is to say, the Federal Association for Economic Development and Foreign Trade, main work and focus? Besides that, I guess one of your institution's ambitions is also reaching Turkey and its markets. What's your motivation regarding this point, and what can you tell us about your experiences, in particular regarding China and Russia? Thank you in advance.
Okay. Well, good evening, dear Deputy Minister of Trade, Mrs. Batur. dear Vice President of the Presidential Investment Office, Mr. Erdem, dear Mr. Ivers, distinguished fellow panelists, and ladies and gentlemen online. It's a pleasure being here, and thank you very much for inviting us to contribute to this exciting webinar. To answer your question, BWA, which translates into German Federal Association for Economic Development and Foreign Trade, was founded in 2003 at the suggestion of German politics, but mainly by the German business community, to help German companies leverage their networks in entering emerging markets. At that time, we focused very much on BRICS, on China, on Russia, on India, but then soon enlarged our radius. We are headquartered in Berlin and have regional offices in Frankfurt and Munich, and represent around 10,000 German corporations, which we have been supporting now in their projects for more than 17 years. And we have supported projects in more than 70 countries worldwide. So we enjoy a national and international reputation as what we call bridge builder to good business, and as an advocate of a sustainable eco-social market economy. And the members of BWA are companies of all sizes and from all industries, mainly what we in Germany call the Mittelstand, like a family-owned enterprises, but also large multinationals like SAP, for example. But all those companies have something in common. They are driving the future of their business development on the basis of successful foreign investments and international cooperations. BWA also advises German politicians and bundles its political activities in commissions, which act as think tanks for various topics. Now, coming to Turkey, we believe that, and we strongly believe that Turkey will continue to gain importance as a regional shaping power, and that it lies in Germany's, in our national interest, to participate in the development of Turkey as a central business location in the Eastern Mediterranean. Turkey offers a lot of opportunities for the German community and for the German economy. And Turkey and Germany are linked by a long history that goes back to the relations of the German Empire with the Ottoman Empire. We have a large community of fellow citizens of Turkish origin that make a considerable contribution to the value creation in Germany, but we're not realizing our full potential when it comes to value creation by German companies in Turkey. And I think this is something that we have to address and that we would like to address. Yes, we do have more than 7,400 German companies engaged in Turkey, but the combined investment volume of German companies there since the 1980s has not been overwhelming. I think it's around $14.5 billion in the course of over 40 years. I believe much more could be achieved. Now, what is the main reason why we're not progressing as well as we could be? I think it's because German-Turkish relations have been heavily politicized, and we have a very bad, distorted image of Turkey in German media and political discourse. This is the biggest challenge to further intensifying our business relations, and I think this is something that we in Germany have to change. Reports about Turkey in German media usually lack a profound knowledge of the reality there, and they are not in the interest neither of our country nor of our business community. So we advocate and we believe that a fundamental course correction in German foreign policy is needed here. And that holds true, since you asked, also for German engagement with China and with Russia and with many other economies in the world. But let me focus on Turkey here, because that's the topic of tonight. I think Germany is one of the world's largest established production economies. And we perhaps have become a little too comfortable in that position. Turkey is one of the large emerging production economies, and it has proven what it is capable of over the past decades. And I think there's too little understanding of that in Germany. There's too little appreciation, and it is time for Germany to acknowledge what has been achieved in Turkey, and also to show respect for what has been achieved, because it opens up a window of opportunity for our business community. Turkey is an important bridgehead in the Eastern Mediterranean and should be treated as a natural strategic partner for Germany in many multilateral issues that will become increasingly important in a post-pandemic new world order. We at BWA are happy to work to strengthen interaction at government and business level and to strengthen the trust of people from both countries in each other. We want to build bridges and promote cooperation along industrial value chains, as well as in scientific research and the exchange of innovation projects and results that benefit both countries. Now, although there are cultural and political differences, of which we are well aware, Germans and Turks complement each other to a great extent. We must emphasize what we have in common and not what divides us, because increasing distance cannot be in the interests of our countries and our people. So as active promoters of a sustainable and multilateral economy, we need to pay more attention to German-Turkish cooperation, in particular to advanced manufacturing in strategic emerging industries. Or to put it this way, while we all hopefully can soon again enjoy the beauty of Turkey as a travel destination, we need to accelerate our move beyond tourism. Maybe so much for my first round.
Erkut, mikrofonun kapalı.
Sorry, I think I have to repeat myself. Thank you for your presentation, for your insightful presentation, Mr. Schumann. It gave us a good overview of the Federal Association for Economic Development and Foreign Trade, and it shows us how great potential both countries, Turkey and Germany, have on both sides. Thank you. I will come back to you with a second question in our second round. Now I will turn to our second speaker, Mr. Ahmet İhsan Erdem. Mr. Erdem, also thank you for joining us. He's the Vice President of the Investment Office of the Presidency of Turkey. Mr. Erdem, after his graduation from the Bilkent University in Ankara, he made his master's at the Pace University's Lubin School of Business in New York. Prior to his vice presidency at the investment office, Ahmet İhsan Erdem worked as the head of investment service department at Turkey's prime ministry until 2018. Thank you again for joining us from Ankara. It's great to have you here. To my
Actually,
question,
Istanbul right now.
Okay, sorry. Okay, also great.
Thank you.
First of all, I would like to ask you some general aspects regarding the investment office and its activities. Can you give us a basic overview of the investment office of the Presidency of the Turkish Republic? Furthermore, it would be great to hear from you about some experiences of your office and, of course, some numbers, details about specifically German investors in Turkey. Thank you also in advance.
Thank you very much, Erkut Bey. First and foremost, I would like to thank SETA for this opportunity. And then I believe that this is a very good opportunity for us to share our point of views in order to create a common ground regarding how we can collaborate as Turkey and Germany in the future, especially in the bilateral economic activities. And I would like to also thank Ms. Deputy Minister for sharing such an insightful introductory speech. Almost covered most of the topics that I'm going to present. And I would like to also thank Mr. Schumann for making my job easier, for promoting Turkey's investment opportunities and underlining, pointing out how important Turkey is for Germany in terms of creating a collaborative, sustainable economic performance in the near future. And last but not least, I would like to also wish everybody healthy days over the course of this coronavirus pandemic. This affecting all of us. So, as it is being asked, I would like to take this opportunity and introduce the investment office. The investment office is basically an IPA, meaning investment promotion agency. We have two main missions. One is to promote Turkey's investment climate all over the world. And our second mission is to, of course, support investors before, during, and after they enter to Turkey. And we have two offices. Our headquarters is in Ankara, and we have an operational office in Istanbul. But we have a network of international advisors scattered all around the world, where there is a potential of being the source of foreign direct investments. We, of course, attach utmost importance to Germany, so we have two colleagues based in Germany addressing the needs of German investors at their very convenience. Our services are first of all of our services are free of charge, and we are 100% governmental institution directly attached to His Excellency the President, Mr. Erdogan. And basically, before making an investment in Turkey, what we do is to provide most reliable, up-to-date information of the market and the legal atmosphere regarding that very sector that the investors are planning to invest in. We get together with the primary institutions, the investor with the primary institutions, in order to further clarify their question marks if they have any. Basically, we facilitate in that period the decision-making mechanism of the investors. Once the decision has taken in the government side, we can coordinate all the necessary licenses or any official procedures can be coordinated by our office. And we also provide land research services for the investors. And from A to Z, we provide assistance to the investors during the investment period. Once the investment period has completed, from time to time, we get together with the investors, get their feedback about their operations or their experience during the investment phase, and if there are anything that is needed to be addressed, we try to address that issue and try to solve if there is any issue with the relevant governmental authorities. And if there are any new projects on the pipeline, we start to work with the investors as well in order to realize that project. And also, we serve as a policy advocacy mechanism for the international investors in order to address the areas that we have some potential to improve our investment climate in the relevant platforms. So, within a nutshell, this is the investment office. and we are welcoming all investors. We are attaching utmost importance, as I said, to the investors, especially the German investors, because Germany is one of the most important economies in terms of economic bilateral relations, as both Madam Deputy Minister pointed out. In terms of trade volume, Germany is the largest export market for Turkey and third largest import market for Turkey. So it is we have highly interdependent economic relations. And in terms of the when we look at the investment side today, as it has been pointed out, there are almost 7,800 companies are established with German capital. So all the international global German giants are present in Turkey. They have been operating since for many years, namely Mercedes-Benz, Siemens, MAN, BSH, Bosch, Knauf, ThyssenKrupp, Hugo Boss. These are some of the companies that, within a nutshell, I can share with you. And these companies are not just try to operate and try to utilize the domestic potential of Turkey, but many of them are using Turkey either as a managerial hub or an export or production hub for their activities. For instance, BSH right now is managing 89 countries from their headquarters in Turkey. Knauf is managing 80 countries from their headquarters here in Turkey. Similarly, ThyssenKrupp is managing more than 70 countries from their headquarters in Turkey. And namely, Hugo Boss. Hugo Boss is one of the biggest, the biggest supply resource is Turkey. So many of their production, many of their manufacturing is happening here in Turkey. So we regard German companies as a vital and very important integral part of our industrial ecosystem. But besides that, there are other German companies who are also investing in not just in manufacturing activities or managerial aspect of the business. They are also doing some important R&D activities as well. Namely, MAN, Mercedes have their R&D facilities that they conducting R&D and design activities at their R&D facilities in Turkey. So these are, within a nutshell, these are the things that I can share very easily regarding to the importance of the German investors. Thank you very much. These are all that I can share in the first part of my work, and thank you.
Now I think you can hear me, Mr. Erdem. Thank you very much for your presentation. It was great to hear you for such details. And now I want to turn to our third speaker, Professor Erdal Yalçın. Hello, Professor Erdal Yalcin. Just brief something about his biography. He's a professor of international economics at the Constance University of Applied Sciences. Professor Yalcin has been the deputy director of the IFO Center for International Economics at the IFO Institute for Economic Research for almost a decade, which ended in 2018. Professor Yalcin does research in the specific fields of international economics and development economics, and his expertise is focused on, among other fields, for instance, applied economics, economic development, foreign direct investment, international business. He's also a renowned expert in particular regarding topics concerning Turkish-German economic and commercial relations. To my question, Professor Yalcin, can you describe us the general framework of the Turkish-German relations in the field of economy and trade? By this, I mean, it would be interesting to see and listen how the bilateral relations of both countries have been developed from an institutional point of view. We know that there are many experiences on both sides in the past, but in particular in establishing the institutional development until now, this field would be very interesting. Thank you also in advance.
Thank you, Erkut Bey. I hope you can hear me, and
yes,
thank you for giving me the opportunity to participate. I thank SETA, and I also thank the pre-speakers, in particular Mrs. Batur as a Deputy Trade Minister, Mr. Erdem and Mr. Schumann for their great insights. And to answer your questions, I would like to build on some cornerstones each of the three speakers, panelists already mentioned. I think in order to assess the bilateral German-Turkish economic and trade relations, it's important to broaden the perspective and understand there have been successful periods and challenging periods related to structural aspects. And one of the structural aspects is Turkey has been a very successful growing economy between 2002 and 2008, before the first financial crisis. And during this period, Turkey has become a very open economy. Open means the share of trade relative to its GDP is very high. At the moment, and the Deputy Minister for Trade very nicely and comprehensively emphasized this, to over 200 billion US dollar of imports, Germany with 20 billion exports to Turkey, one of the most important countries over the last 20 years. Why did this happen? Well, there are two reasons. As emphasized by the Deputy Minister, Turkey was always supporting foreign companies. There was an open attitude in Turkey, and at the same time, there is a market aspect. Turkey has over 80 million citizens. It's a large market as a consumer market, which is interesting for German companies. This has also been indicated by Mr. Erdem's list of all large German companies have been present on the Turkish market. But there is also another development which hasn't been emphasized. This is the educational background in Turkey, which allows German companies to utilize well-educated, a young generation of Turkish citizens that can work in affiliate German companies in Turkey and selling intermediate goods, for example, to German OEMs in the car industry, in the chemical industry. So Turkey, as an open and institutionally stable society in particular in the period which I mentioned, has developed itself as a workbench, if you want so, for multinational German companies. However, and now comes the difficult part, the success story depends on trust. Why trust? And Mr. Schumann mentioned that the last 10 years are better characterized where mutual trust, not only between Turkey and Germany, but also between other European countries, is suffering. Trust is fundamental because a large extent of the trade requires financial means that are not available in Turkey, but have to come from outside of Turkey. So in the moment where trust is decreasing, the cost for capital is increasing, and the attractiveness or the challenges for international investors, but also trading companies from Germany or also German companies in Turkey becomes difficult. This is one of the first challenges, that there is a decreasing trust. And the question, one important question we should talk about, hopefully along this panel, is why do we observe this declining trust? Mrs. Batur mentioned there is a high expectation to addressing institutional aspects, and the second important aspect I want to mention in this challenges and chances for Turkey and German relations is the institutional frameworks that supports Turkish-German relationships is the customs union. The customs union is in place for 25 years now, and it guaranteed for German companies, for European companies, a reliable trade framework in terms of how the custom duties are regulated, how the certificates of origins are regulated, enabling a sustainable value chain creations between German companies and Turkish companies. However, the customs union, and this is only partly indicated in the keynote speech by the deputy minister, the customs union is not only a technical framework, it has a strong political component. And this links the customs union to the relevance of trust, of mutual trust between Europe, Germany, and Turkey. What do I mean with political trust? Political and trust, the linkage is the customs union forces Turkey to accept trade policies defined by the European Union. And this is the reason why since 2015, some people don't know that there has been a memorandum of understanding trying to modernize this old historical contract in order to improve the conditions for investors and traders in Turkey. But we all know, and this has been not mentioned today directly, in order to trigger this, we need also the political will on the European side. The Memorandum of Understanding has been signed in 2015, 5 years ago, and since then, we do not see a major step forward. And the reason for that is trust, also on the political level, has suffered a lot. Germany has been always a country, as Mr. Schumann also indicated, trying to find ways to improve and to trigger this process. But Germany is not alone in the European Union, and there are broader conflicts, problems, challenges where other countries, just to mention some of them, France, for example, Greece, Cyprus, where it looks very difficult to fulfill these expectations to trigger the customs union modernization, which would give strong signals for the industry, not only in Germany, but also in Europe and Turkey, and which could be a basis, again, to improve also the mistrust that has accumulated over the last decade. The challenge here is, unfortunately, if there is not the will to modernize the customs union, it will be hard to improve trust. If there is no trust, there is less willingness to start the modernization. So we are, what I'm trying to say is, in a vicious circle, and it is very difficult at the moment. I understand the expectation. It's very motivating to hear from the Deputy Trade Minister that there is a very deep cooperation between the German Ministry for Economic Affairs and the Turkish Trade Ministry. There are these 5 important working groups addressing very specific topics, but at the end of the day, until the end of this year, if there are no signals that the modernization of the customs union is very likely to be addressed by Germany, we need to discuss about alternatives, because for Turkey in particular, and German companies working with Turkey in Turkey, and Mr. Erdem emphasized a very important point here, Turkey is also increasingly a hub for headquarters to serve other destinations. For these companies, this looming uncertainty about the future of the trading framework, investing framework, is problematic. So we need to discuss how can we get out of this vicious circle, other potentially alternative institutional frameworks.
Thank you, Professor Yalcin, also for the detailed framework of the European Union, Turkey, Customs Union, and the future projections. And one of our viewers also made a question with this regard, to which I will come back in a bit later, which is also an important issue, which we have to also focus in depth. But at this point, I will turn to our next and fourth speaker, Mr. Klaus Meyer. Hello, Mr. Meyer.
Hello,
welcome.
Also. Are you fine?
Okay, nice to see you. Hello again. Just briefly, want to summarize your biography. Mr. Meyer is the CEO of the Plan Group and the Vice President of the Berlin Capital Club. He studied business and administration and held management positions in the automotive, aerospace, and engineering industries. Subsequently, Mr. Meyer founded Plan in 1993, which has been successfully working nationally and internationally for corporations and medium-sized companies for over 25 years. Mr. Meyer also holds positions in various supervisory and administrative boards. Yes, Mr. Meyer, thanks for joining us. My initial question is about your company. We know that the Plan Group works as an international engineering company for corporations and medium-sized companies. Besides that, it is a leading consulting agency. With regard to our audience, what can you tell us about this company in general, as well as based on your experiences over the years in general, and what are your projections regarding to our special topic tonight, Turkey?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the possibility to speak with you and the other guys who are in front of me. I think now it's not so easy for me to bring new ideas, to bring new information, because they said a lot of right things. And so I think what's interesting for us, my company's working worldwide. We have the headquarters in Germany, in Bavaria. We have 6 offices in Germany. We have companies in Hungary and China. We have also work projects in this time in Russia, in US, and also in South Africa. We work with our engineers, especially in the automotive industry and the aerospace industry, and also in the machinery industry. And we are some years in contact with the Turkish companies, and we worked also for Turkish companies with our engineers. Our view is to create perfect production and assembly lines in aerospace and automotive industries, and also by the tier 1 companies over there. So the most important market, we know that all, is China. China grows, and if China grows slowly, the point is that if China grows slowly, they grow very fast. For example, in other companies in the world. But what about the Turkish partners? I think it's important for us to work with the Turkish companies because they are in their thinking very similar to the German thinking. They are very tough in doing. They are very tough in to look for their goals, and they are personal, interesting, because if they say something, they mean it also. So that's a very important thing for working together. And for example, I think if you have the Plan Group, have big customers, OEMs, all automotive OEMs, all German automotive OEMs, some China automotive OEMs, similar. Then in the aerospace industry, we worked for Thai. We worked also in Europe for Airbus, that's clear, and Comac in China, for USC in Russia. And we made perfect technology solutions for their production lines and also for their assembly lines. And the Emerplan Group is interesting to work international all over the world. And so I think Turkey is not in the European Union because Turkey is the third biggest economic area in Europe, with Europe, in the nearest Europe. And so I think this country is interesting for German companies because they want to have perfect technology solutions, and we can help to create these technology solutions. They don't want to buy similar things. They want to create new things, and that's interesting for us. And the third biggest economic regions in Europe is important for all companies, and especially for German companies, because there is a market here. There is a growth market in the future. There are a lot of young people. They have studied in Turkey or in Europe, and they have a lot of know-how, and so they have a lot of possibilities and chances to create a high-end technology country in the future with Turkey. What's the problem? The problem is only some misunderstandings in the political way, but I think we are CEOs from companies. We are not political, and I think I had never a problem in Turkey. I have only friendly discussions, interesting projects. I have never bad ideas, and so I think we can work together, and the politics have to work together. They have to look about their problems, and they have to make their jobs, and we have to make the job in the economy. And so I think that's what I say all to my friends also. We want to work in Turkey. We want to work together with companies in Turkey, and with the Emerplan Group, the Turkish companies have a very competent and a very serious partner for integrate new technology also in energy and in green energy, in production and assembly parts. And so we go to Turkey, we speak with them. Today I had a meeting in the afternoon with one of the biggest companies in Turkey in the automotive industry. And so I think we have an interesting future together, and we have a perfect working together. And I can say to all European companies, they have to have a look for Turkey for business, for Turkey in economics and the political way. It's not our job, but I feel very good if I stay in Turkey, personal. And it's also important for us. We have an engineering company. We are engineers. I have more than 300 engineers in our companies, and my employees, my engineers, they want to go to Turkey. They want to work together with Turkish engineers. They want to fly to Turkey. They have no problem. In this time, we have the problem all over the world with Corona. I think we can be, our only chance is to be careful. But the second way for this pandemic is to make tests, and again tests, and we have to do that, and we have to hope that we have the chance to be correct and to be and to work over there, and no quarantine, because tests are much more better than quarantine, because we have no time to stay at home or to stay in hotels. Some days we need tests, and you have to tell also to your government that they have to look for many tests. Yesterday evening, I had here in my representative office in Berlin some German politics, and I said to them the same. I said, make tests, make no quarantine. That it's bad for business. It's bad for employees. It's bad for our future. We have to look about Corona, but we have to be hopeful for the future. And I'm hopeful for a long way in Turkey, together with Turkish companies, together also with Turkish politicians, and for a nice and happy and perfect future.
Thank you very much, Mr. Meyer, for your insightful words and your detailed explanation about your company's activities and your projection regarding Turkey. In our second round, I will also come back to you again. In our second round, our panelists, starting again with Mr. Schumann, I think we will have another approximately 5 minutes maximum for additional comments. But in our second round, I want to combine also the questions which we received from our audience on our social media accounts. And one of our viewers asked Mr. Schumann, I think he's at BWA, what are your projections regarding the economic and commercial relations between Turkey and Germany for the future? General or even specific predictions for both countries. Can you tell some specific predictions or projections for the future, Mr. Schumann? What should we do, or what kind of potential do we have in this field?
Well, first of all, I would also like to extend a welcome to Klaus Meyer. Mentioned he's on many supervisory boards. He's on ours as well. So great to have you here. To answer your question, I think right now we are at a historic juncture. So the Corona crisis represents an economic collapse of unprecedented historic proportions for both Turkey and Germany, or for the whole world, to be more precise. And we have heard from Madame Deputy Minister that there's light at the end of the tunnel, especially looking at German-Turkish economic relations. But honestly, nobody can say that yet. We are at the beginning of a second wave. We have no idea how bad it will become, how long it will take, and what this pandemic has still in stock for us. And today in Germany, Chancellor Merkel held a remarkable speech in the German parliament. So having said that, I'm still hopeful, because if you look at a potential way of recovery for the German economy, we have always been a strong exporting nation. The strengthening of foreign investment and foreign trade commitments of German companies is a way out of this crisis. It is a decisive factor, and that is why we are promoting it, and why we are now, in particular, promoting increased cooperation with partner countries like Turkey and other economies who will most likely emerge from this crisis less affected than others. Now, Madam Deputy Minister mentioned China, of course, Turkey, probably Russia as well. These are economies that we now have to focus on. And also, every crisis presents us with an opportunity. If we look at the economic reality right now, we've seen the Turkish currency, the Turkish lira, currently struggling with exchange rate fluctuations, and this has been heavily reported by business and financial media in Germany, and often with a slightly negative touch. But we believe this should not deter German entrepreneurs. On the contrary, because this circumstance can also be seen here as an additional incentive for investment. And please don't get me wrong, or call us insensitive. I mean, we must not overlook the fact that the fall of the lira, of course, is first and foremost associated with challenges for the people of Turkey and the purchasing power in Turkey. But as the Chinese say, crisis is always another world for opportunity, and it is a good juncture in time for anti-cyclical investment behavior, which I see as an opportunity for German entrepreneurs that should be seized. And German companies have been heavily affected by the lockdown, by the damage done by the pandemic. But German SMEs have built up good reserves from recent years. We're looking back at a very strong decade. And they still have the opportunity to think about investments despite the corona crisis. And they should seize that opportunity. I mean, Volkswagen did not seize the opportunity, in our opinion, when they did abolish their plans to build their factory in Turkey. I think that was a mistake. And it was not for corona reasons. But if you look at the backbone of the German economy, the family-owned SMEs, the hidden champions, they still have this ability, and I hope, and predictions are always difficult, but I hope that we will be able to change the political climate in Germany to make it more conducive to these type of investments in the Turkish market. I think against this background, we should use the corona crisis as an opportunity to realign German-Turkish partnership in a positive sense, so that we can emerge from this test and this pandemic and this crisis stronger together. Because as the speaker mentioned before, in the end, it will all come down to trust. I don't believe that we're through yet. I don't believe that we have seen the peak of the crisis yet. I believe there's got to get worse before it's going to get better. And we will all be in a position when we're done with this, where we should, realign and trust each other to help rebuild the global economy. And I think that's what we owe our peoples, and that is a challenge lying ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Schumann. There are important and significant takeaways for us on which you set a focus in your elaborations, and we all hope to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Now I want to turn to Mr. Ahmet Ihsan Erdem. Also combine a question which came from one of our viewers. The question is whether Mr. Erdem can give us a specific overview of the possibilities and chances regarding investment options in Turkey, above all during and afterwards the COVID-19 pandemic. I think the pandemic is also a great challenge for Turkey as well as all the region, and a global challenge, as we know. But what do you think regarding possibilities and chances during and subsequent the end of the pandemic? We hope next year, or even for some analysts also in 2022.
Thank you. I'm sure that everybody is going to agree with me that corona pandemic is totally a game changer right now. It's totally changed the picture, our priorities, our plans in the short term, mostly negatively in the short term. But in the long term, and in the mid and long term, I agree with Mr. Schumann, there might be some opportunities that might arise from the post effects of the coronavirus pandemic. Before going to that, I would like to share some of the some insight regarding the fundamental and structural reasons for investing in Turkey. There are a couple of important reasons that I can underline that might not going to change in the near future. First and foremost, Turkey, as it has been pointed out, is one of the largest economy within its region. So it is the 13th largest economy in terms of purchasing power parity, and one of the fastest growing economies in the since the early 2000s, around the average GDP growth rate of 5%. And besides that, it constitutes an important domestic market with a population of 83 million people, and half of this population is, as a matter of fact, around the age 31, 32. It constitutes a young and dynamic consumer base, which is favorable for every investors while assessing an economy to invest in. Besides that, another important factor, of course, Turkey's geographical position. And one of the most important assets, as we believe, is the Turkey's customs union with EU market. Basically, whatever you produce in Turkey, with some couple of exceptions, those goods can be freely exported to the EU markets. And other than that, Turkey geographically located in the epicenter of important markets such as Central Asia, Africa, and Middle East, and of course Europe. That's why many global companies, the companies that I share with you, German ones as well, are using this opportunity to use Turkey as a manufacturing or managerial hub, or also an export hub within the region. And besides that, when I'm set, Turkey has important favorable demographics, not just because of constituting an important consumer base, but also sustainably create a workforce that is needed to be that is needed for the investors to run their business. And Turkey provides with its improvements in the health, with its improvements in the education system. Turkey further shape its favorable demographics into a cost-competitive, skilled workforce that can run the business for the investors itself. Today, and one of the most important aspects, of course, Turkey, depending on the needs and necessities of the investors, as well as the changing global and local dynamics, Turkey have been implementing important reforms in order to address these necessities and the changes within the global landscape. So about the post-COVID opportunities, I agree that we all saw that how the importance of the supply, the reliability of the supply of the reliability of the supply chain, and Turkey's geographical position, as well as the in terms of cost-wise favorable position for the German investors, can create an important opportunity as well.
Thank you, Mr. Erdem. Very important and interesting takeaway. Thank you for these contributions. And now I want to turn once again to Professor Yalcin for a detailed question regarding his remarks on the European Union, Turkey Customs Union. And you mentioned, as far as I can remember, some kind of alternatives regarding this issue. Can you go a bit into detail what you meant, and what do you see for the future of the EU-Turkey Customs Union in a concrete way?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I mean, I want to build on Mr. Meyer's very nice statement. He just said, you know, we Germans, we want to do business, and this is with the Turks, and the Turkish people do make the same statement. So there is, and I can confirm this for the last 10 years, participating in roundtable meetings on ministerial levels, the spirit on both sides, on the business level, has been always, we just want to do business because there are potentials, and we are running behind our potential, which was confirmed by Mr. Schumann. The challenge is the customs union, Mr. Erdem said, which is a backbone of the success story over the last 20 years, has been increasingly politicized. And the question is, even if German politicians are willed to use the customs union as a bridge to normalize relations, to support business, which was indicated, it is not a unanimous decision by German politicians. There is a European Union struggling in different countries with different challenges. In France, unemployment is still high. Italy is struggling with high debt. And in light of this, there is not much willingness and political movement at the moment, as far as I can assess, to use the customs union via a modernization to improve relations with Turkey. The question, and I think this is also important for the Turkish political side, is the customs union the only way? Maybe, given the challenges also within the European Union, maybe a step back, a modernization of a trade agreement, which gives Turkey more freedom to set its own trade policy, would be a new alternative. Why do I say this? You know, Mr. Chaushul, who was in Great Britain, in the UK, a couple of weeks ago, preparing a new free trade agreement with Great Britain. At the moment, Turkey is negotiating a bilateral investment treaty update with the Netherlands, which is a very important country when it comes as a hub for investments also in Turkey. All these ambitions of Turkey to improve bilaterally relations for the Turkish business environment actually are not working within the customs union framework. The customs union legislation states Turkey has to adopt European trade policies, in particular trade policies. What Turkey is trying to do now is, because the customs union is stuck, it's trying to solve the problem by just circumventing the old treaty. So my question to Turkish side, or it's not a question, so it's a debate that should be started in the Turkish society, is maybe the customs union has been an interim step in a political integration process into the European Union. But I don't say that give up the European perspective, but maybe there is a way via a less binding agreement, like a free trade agreement, which can also be renegotiated. Like look at Great Britain. They are in a similar situation as Turkey. It's not easy. We know that also Britain is a very nice precedent. It's not easy just to reshuffle treaties, but given the trust problem, given also the blockade of triggered by the customs union for Turkey's trade policy freedom, Turkey in particular has to seriously consider a more liberal, a more independent trade policy that will come along potentially with costs. It would mean less political coordination, but I see also a chance in this, choosing a free trade oriented treaty, less with a customs union structure, gives also more freedom to pursue Turkish interests. I know this is not, this is a very strong statement, but if we really want to stimulate and use the corona crisis as a starting point, and with Germany as a supportive government of Turkish interests, it should be not only talking about the customs union modernization. We should see also the broader perspective, where Turkey is not only discussing with Germany, but also with less cooperative European countries. Whether this is correct or correctly motivated in Europe or not, I'm not valuing it. It's a matter of fact. And it would be very reasonable for Turkey to consider a deep, for example, and comprehensive alternative free trade agreement, similar to what is at the moment prepared, for example, with the United Kingdom.
Okay, thank you again, Professor Yalçın, for these insightful takeaways. Once again, I wanted also to ask Klaus Meyer a second or third question, but I think he has a technical problem. But I think in general, we have come to the end of our web panel. Unless you want to add something, then you can add it now. Or yeah, thank you for all your analysis and significant presentations. Also, thanks to our audience who took their time in order to watch our web panel, and also to our Deputy Minister of Trade, Ms. Gonca Yılmaz-Batır. For our final words, I want to turn to our Berlin coordinator, Mr. Zafer Meşe. And yes, thank you from my side again. I hope to meet you again in a future event, maybe in a physical way, in better times, when we can see the end at the tunnel, the light at the end of the tunnel. And so thank you again. Zafer Bey.
Well, thank you, Erkut. I also want to thank our Deputy Minister of Trade for her visionary speech. And also, I really appreciated the discussion here and the considerations and the way we talked also about the framing the economic bilateral relation. We should always have in mind the European Union aspect on that sense. And I had moments of lesson learned, and it was a constructive and inspiring session. And I really thank you all. I really appreciated it. And also, Ahmedi Sanbey, thank you for your statement and your the way how we called it in the past invest in Turkey. Now it's the investment office. But I think I had the feeling you are a one-stop shop for investors in Turkey. Or
yeah, you can call that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I also wanted to say one final word. Please feel free to. I'm trying to underline that all investors from Germany, please feel free to contact us. You can regard the investment office as a reference point here in Turkey that can help you through the stages of investments. And thank you once again.
Thank you. Did you hear, Mr. Schumann? It was an invitation from Mr.
Yes, it was.
Okay, thank you a lot, and hope that we will have opportunities, opportunity to come together. And it was a really great session here. Thank you I really appreciate it. Have a nice evening, guys. Take care.